everybody. I hope you guys are having an incredible day. I'm really happy to be back today. I have a lot that I want to talk to you about and a lot of things that you and I are going to go through. To begin with, we are going to deep dive into a topic that I have been really wanting to present about. And it's something that I've been touching on in some of my conference presentations over the past couple months. But I think that we are collectively needing this information to kind of better understand ourselves. And we need to have a more multidimensional vision of what exactly is occurring in the world around us so that we understand how to realign and readjust the inner work that we're doing in order to capture and receive the information that's necessary for our evolution at this time. And what I mean by that is that the more that you understand how you are an incredible geometric type structure, you are a system, a holographic system of co-creation. The more you understand the mechanics behind that, the more you can have a handle on where your input and output is being focused on, what you are expressing into the world outside of you, how you're co-creating, and how you are still perhaps attracting similar experiences in your life. Sometimes these experiences are traumatic and they keep repeating over and over again. And so as we know, we are looking to change and break those patterns. And I think that's a really, really strong topic that we've been touching on over the past couple months, and one that we need to deep dive and understand how to work. As you know, our souls that come into this earth are kind of, in a sense, pre-programmed, you can say, to experience the things that we're meant to experience. And the kind of pre-programming that we're experiencing is down to the genetic level. It is an expression of holographic data that is basically passed down through generations. And so the way that information is expressed is triggered by experiences that we essentially help design and co-create since the womb. Since the moment of conception in our mother's womb, we begin to form a vibrational signature for our expression. And the expression is infused by frequency patterns that kind of create the design of our, you can say, a blueprint of the body, of not just the physical body, but your multidimensional body. And that multidimensional body will take a very specific shape. It's going to take a shape, a frequency in which you're going to be interacting within this shape construct, which basically creates limitations of where you are able to expand and where you're able to go back into. So essentially, our evolutionary process is very much a discovery of who we are in this geometric pattern, in this expression, this vibrational signature, in order to understand how to break, change, heal, readjust these patterns into something that is more expressive and that can more easily mold and move and evolve fluidly with our timeline, our collective timeline in which we are participating in. So in the womb as children, as we are designed because we are vibrational beings. The moment that the sperm enters into the egg, creating an incredible explosion, which is the unification of grid systems of two energy bodies that are merging in to create one. And what that does is that it quickly restructures the union between these two beings, is whether planned or unplanned pregnancy, whether a union that was meant to be or a union that feels forced, whatever the circumstances are, the union is by resonance. And even if it's an uncomfortable relationship, even if it's a loving relationship, there's a resonance that has brought together these two organisms in order to co-create. And so the creation that is produced by this creation then creates the spark of life, as some people call it. And that spark of life is really the readjustment of these systems, these chemical electrical systems that create a frequency of expression. And you are that frequency of expression. That frequency of expression, because frequency has shape and form, and we're going to learn how that is today more in depth, creates a very specific shape for how it's a container for your vibrational frequency, your multidimensional body. The first thing that begins to form is the multidimensional body inside of the fetus. Inside of the womb, the fetus in the womb. And then later the fetus begins to develop the physical aspect. The physical aspect is informed by the non-physical etheric aspect of this growing essence. This vibrational signature creates an immediate structure for the form to then take place. And as the form begins to develop in the womb, it begins to take on subtle instructions on how to create the perfect hologram, human physical hologram that will be embodying a very specific vibrational signature. And that vibrational signature has to do with your entire life purpose, everything that you're going to be learning, doing, experiencing, from the highest potential to the lowest point of experiences that you can have throughout your life. What creates the unique structure of your essence is the belief systems and thought forms that are primarily informing the vibrational frequency of the two father and mother frequencies that united. So we will be taking on that. However, there is a space in between that conception point for some of these thought forms to solidify, because the way that we are working in this interdimensionality is consciousness, which when observed, it changes. These essences of creation, our ability to create functions in the same manner. Our intentions that are subconscious feed more into what we're co-creating rather than sometimes our energetic attention. So that's why we need to understand the mechanics of creation and understand that by the time a lot of us realize that we are playing a role in the co-creation, it's already too late. Something's already been created and designed. In fact, we've been participating in the co-creation of that experience for a very, very long time. And so in the same way, our children are a result of that collective union. And it goes beyond the two people that have come together. We're talking about ancestral lineages. We're talking about bloodlines. We're talking about councils of interdimensional beings that are galactically organizing intelligence in order to co-create specific experiences as part of the collective Earth experience. So there's many, many systems that play a role in our lives and how we experience lives. But as infinite consciousness, we have this incredible ability in this current experience timeline to wake up consciousness, in that you can then decide the role that you're playing in that timeline, and therefore be able to transcend the patterns that you're coming into and then experience even greater possibilities, because we are made up of infinite possibilities, of infinite potential. So the experience in the three-dimensional realm is to master creation. And so our fractal is embodied in this three-dimensional plane in order to experience creation. It's creation on many levels, whether it's anything from art to children to, belief systems, whatever it is, we're here to create. And we do so with the rest of ourselves, which are the rest of the humans in this collective co-creation that we call Earth. So as we come to experience this lifetime, all of these intricacies of information play a role in our belief systems, and the way that our bodies create are several systems that are the emotions, that are the intentions, subconscious beliefs, the unconscious aspects of us, and then, of course, the influence from the lineages, our bloodlines, our DNA, which are passing down all of these repetitive patterns generationally. And so we are a product of those, and usually it becomes our expression because we are unconscious. All we do is continue to repeat these patterns until we choose no longer to repeat those patterns. And then that's when the true expression of this signature of creation comes to life. This is where the true form of your expression can come actually online. It's kind of like you wake up from this hypnosis and you're now actually playing the game, not necessarily being played or manipulated or being experienced by the system. In fact, you choose to experience. And then this is where things begin to change. So until that occurs, the programming that we experience as children, everything from our parents to society to the location that you were born in the world, the part of the world that you were born in, your blood type, your, the way that you look, all of these things play a role in your expression, in your vibrational expression, and they participate in the role that you're going to play out in your life. It's incredibly important that each one of you have a very specific signature. And because we have been experiencing generations and generations of this experience in many different timelines, a lot of us are reincarnating strengthened bloodlines that have been descending for centuries. And essentially, it's part of a gigantic experiment of evolution, of thought, of programming and deprogramming into the core essence of whether that consciousness will understand itself as infinite potential or continue to play out cyclical roles of this matrix programming. And so it's a very beautiful and elegant dance that we play in this lifetime, and the opportunities to transcend it are actually magnificently available to you at any time. So that being said, how do we break these programs? That's something that I talk about a lot on my channel, and I offer these sessions in DNA reprogramming where we go deep into the subconscious mind and begin to deprogram all of these thought forms that are creating limiting belief systems. And the product of that kind of heavy work and that incredibly powerful work is that we're literally, through verbalization of your frequency, through the deprogramming of thoughts and belief systems, we are literally shifting gently, changing the vibrational frequency, the signature, the structure, the biological and the geometrical expression of your entire body down to the cellular level. So let me begin by, I'm going to show you a little bit of what I mean. So first of all, we know that we have DNA within the physical body, but the way that DNA is actually functioning, the way that it rotates, the way that it creates this spiral structure within it is actually a magnificent design of a natural movement and intelligence that is created in order to create this spiral movement. And it really is a natural expression of the universe in which we live in. Every single one of our cells in our body, of the structures of reality, have this very interesting toroidal geometry to it. And so the oscillation of these toroidal geometric systems create this incredible enfolding and unfolding movement of life force. So everything functions in this way. And it's important to understand that because this is how we are exchanging life force with ourselves and those around us. Additionally, I want to come here to this slide. Our DNA functions in that same way. We have this unfolding and enfolding, beautiful design to how our DNA is functioning. And every single one of you, this is a picture of a sliced DNA, the vibrational frequency that it's emitting as the DNA is being written literally looks like this beautiful lattice. It's like a braided lattice. And this braid creates these incredibly beautiful geometric shapes that you see at the top here. So every single one of you, based on the kind of DNA that you have a certain geometric form, a shape to you, to your structure. Now, we currently show these four main genetic types. We just recently found a fourth one. But the interesting thing about how this functions is that right now, with the technology that we have, which is quite primitive, we are able to identify these four different shapes. But it is my belief system that we actually, our shapes are much more complex than this. Because we are liquid form, we are based for this liquid form, we have this plasma within the body. It's it's a conduit of vibrational frequency that can be magnified and expanded. And every part of our body has a very specific vibrational frequency. It's storing, and it ranges the axis point of the body from the earth up to the crown of the head, going from 0 point to 0 point again, because of how energy is moving. The energy is braiding just like this. And on every single one of these main nodes that you see in the middle, and the way that you see the energy moving through it, there's scales, there's ranges of frequency that make up every single one of these knots, every single one of these movements of frequency. And so through the body, we have many ranges of frequency in which information is allocated in the body, and it ranges from lower to higher frequency. Now, the beauty of these shapes is that when you start studying the shapes and breaking down these geometric shapes that are produced by our DNA, that are produced by the vibrational signature of your entire collective body, which is all of the DNA in your body. And we know that only a tablespoon of DNA holds the entire world history. We have massive amounts of information in our human bodies that we are still learning, at least in mainstream science, how they function. With the work that we are understanding here in the multidimensional body, in the study of the multidimensional body, we begin to understand that actually what DNA, the holographic DNA, is storing is the blueprint for the etheric aspects of the body, the many layers of the body that begin to navigate other dimensional planes in which we are constantly moving in and out of. So all of these geometric shapes that we see that are expressed by these, by DNA and by all genetic frequency structures, depending on how they are moving, depending on how light is bent through these dimensional planes, they create these platonic solids, these shapes. And every single one of these shapes is basically the shape of a dimensional layer. So all dimensional layers from the first to the 13th dimensional layer all have these shapes. When you combine all of them, you begin to see these incredible geometric complex expressions. And that is what we are. We are a combination of those. This is a language. This is actually a communication. Within this pattern, when you understand how to read it, you can literally understand how to translate what you are. You can literally begin to understand your expression and what you are made out of. Now, every single one of these platonic solids are also found in nature, and we see them in the periodic table. If you are to study the periodic table, and you are to see every single one of the elements in the world also contain these platonic solids. So as you can see, what this helps us understand is that we are looking through a little looking glass at the multidimensional expression of our reality. If each one of these elements have these platonic solids at the very core, nano aspect of its structure, we are made up of these structures, and those structures are what make up matter, essentially. They make up how they feel around us. They make up how we are experiencing these things in and outside of our body. So these geometrical structures hold codes of information, codes of light. How each one of these systems are created is how light is bending, because we are frequency. The language of frequency is light, sound, and we can go into other complexities as well. As we go higher into the dimensional planes, the way that we communicate in these changes Now, what I wanted to talk to you about today, in regards to this topic, is that your DNA has a very unique expression, and this expression that is created through your genetic expression is essentially something that is editable. It's not a finite and solid form that cannot be changed. These are things that we can program and deprogram based on the information and the data that we are inputting into this organism. We can shift and change what we are experiencing. All of us collectively at this time are moving through this main 13th dimensional spiral. Okay, we are right here in the 13th. This is where we are. So all organisms in this dimensional plane, so me and you, we all have access to the 13 dimensional planes available to us in order to navigate and to co-create and to begin to move through them. So I'm just going to move forward here because this goes into really, other topics. But this is what your multidimensional body essentially looks like. And we are made up of every single one of these planes. And what that means is that when we are tapping into manifestation and co-creation, we need to understand that until we deprogram matrix programming, you really don't even have a jump start into the beginning laws of manifestation. And when people begin to wake up, when they begin to do that deprogramming work, that's when they start having dreams. That's when they start navigating these planes, astral projection, and many other things that allow them to actually see the truth beyond the physical. And the language now becomes more vibrational. It becomes vibrational in the sense of the things that you are feeling, the emotions that you're having, the intuitive communications that are coming through you. And in this range of evolution in the 13th dimensional plane, we receive information through these platonic solids, through these geometric shapes, through these activations of our body. It is also, as soon as we start activating these aspects of ourselves, our DNA also begins to change. The shape, the expression, the vibrational frequency that you emit as a whole organism also begins to shift and change. And this is where you really tune in your resonance to precisely exactly what you're looking to experience and co-create. So as you can see, it's a very beautiful and it's a very powerful way of understanding your reality, because what we're actually understanding by looking at these different aspects of our reality is that the mechanics of creation really come down to our vibrational frequency. And if the frequency of our physical body is in a state of survival, if it's in a state of fear, if it's in a state of separation, we are continuously linking back to the design and the platonic solids as well, but everything within the physical realm, the first three chakras that are easily manipulating and distracting us from understanding the true power that we have as humans, which is the ability to experience beyond the third dimensional plane. And the power of that experience, of the ability to do so, speaks to our ability to actually experience free will, which is not something that we have until we deprogram these limiting belief systems. We might think that we have free will, but our free will really doesn't play a role, because as you can see, we are swimming in a soup of co-creation, and we are interdependent systems that have come together in order to create your unique expression, your entire life expression. So essentially, until you break away from the repetitive parasitic aspects of our expression, we can't move forward. So let's break it down and let's talk about what that means. What does it mean to deprogram? To deprogram means to take a look at all the thought forms that were created from the womb until your adulthood that have limiting belief systems that create triggered emotions that create low vibration emotions, belief systems about the organism that limit you and maintain you in the feeling, experiencing body intoxicated by the senses without awareness. And awareness is the key. The awareness of yourself, being able to look at yourself from a bird's eye view, from a third person perspective, to gently observe yourself throughout the day, what you're experiencing, the triggers, the emotions, and begin to break gently with compassion and love the kind of patterns that continue to cause you suffering. So they're really, we want to move away from separation. We want to move away from suffering, because suffering is a result of the mindset of separation. And the separation means that we are separate from the whole, from each other, from source. We want to understand ourselves as this infinite consciousness that is source, that we have the infinite source. We are that. We are a fractal of that infinite source. And through that established connection that's cultivated daily through your awareness, you begin to shift the patterns that you allow yourself to come into and be able to transcend that. Okay. Now, at this current time, with what we're dealing with in the world, there's several little energies in the collective process that we are learning to overcome. And noticing where illusions, where we're getting identified with and entangled with illusions of separation, whether that's through great events that are happening in the collective world, or whether they're concepts and ideas that we're experiencing in our own families, with our own self, limiting beliefs with the self. We need to quickly be able to discern where there are distractions and where we are, have the opportunity to return back to that source. In the source, one enters a point of zero, of non-judgment. This is the center point of neutrality. And it's literally within that point in which there is no resistance, right? We talked about entities in the body and attachments in the body. All of these are self-created aspects of ourselves that we manifest because there is a resistance. And this resistance, in order to accept and to see, causes suffering. It causes blockages of the body. And even more so, as you see yourself and the structure of your body as this complex vortex, it begins to slow down the vibrational frequency of your entire vortex. And that changes the frequency, it changes the structure of your body, it changes the output of your signature, it changes the geometrical structure of your physical body down to the molecular level. So now we're talking about the next level of activation of your multidimensionality. Coming into that 0 point now allows you to neutralize these kind of repetitive patterns. We talked so much about the 0 point. We had an entire conference on that topic. So there are many ways to understand neutrality, but the sooner we come into meditation, into that 0 point, this is where we begin to access this kind of pure form consciousness. And it's never tainted by the emotions. It's never tainted by survival. It's never tainted by fear or by separation. Remember that your connection to source is always a neutral point of manifestation. And it's in that neutral point that the organism begins to tune in to infinite possibility. And when every cell of the body is fine-tuned to that infinite possibility, it's a frequency. That frequency is what we call love. But on these higher levels, it's an incredibly expansive emotion. And more than an emotion, it's a vibrational frequency that the body comes into. So as we begin to gently train the body to move out of survival mode, compassionately into a state of this neutrality, we have to train ourselves to be okay with being safe At the same time, surrendering completely with the ability to be compassionate and loving towards the self in a state of non-judgment, in a state of non-limiting beliefs and fear of separation. Okay, so there's a couple programs that have to be immediately addressed. And at the root of all of them is the program of separation, because we can go into a whole presentation into how we have a separation. The experience to experience separation is encoded in this, let's say, this human body structure, because we are a fractal of something, and that fractal of something in this three-dimensional plane is just to experience its fractal form. But we have to, within the fractal, understand the self-similar design, the inheritance and the embodiment of that source that is available to you. And once you recognize that, and once you program yourself to understand that that's what you are, then it becomes very easily to tune into that infinite consciousness and begin to direct life from that place. So it's very much many aspects of the work that we're doing here. It's emotional, it's energetic, it's physical, it's mental, so many different aspects that play a role in this new way of being. This is really the new human that sees themselves as a vibrational expression that's here to manifest and co-create. And it really plays a role in our creation abilities, whether it's having children, or whether it's creating a special project in your life, or whether it's manifesting something that you want to experience in your life. All of the mechanics of co-creation fall under the same umbrella, because we are in a frequency game. This is a vibrational frequency expression, and the game is creation. So if you are a master of the body, if you're a master of your mind, emotions, you now become a master of manifestation and creation. So that being said, I'm going to wrap up today's video just to give you that nugget of information about your holographic system. And I will be back tomorrow with some more about birth, about prenatal concepts of consciousness and how we program the fetus into manifestation. Okay, thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope you have an incredible day, and I will see you soon. All my love.